Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me. Taxi. Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Here we are. Alex, how are you? Alex Betton Court. Guys, listen, we all know that in today's day, what we're living today, we've never lived in the past, okay? We're living a world that depends on social media, that they get up in the morning, first thing they do is they look at Instagram, they look at TikTok, they look at Facebook, they look at X. Everything is about the phone right now. Everything is about, how do I stay relevant? How do I know what's going on day to day? And guess what? Businesses today aren't spending what they used to spend on traditional media. They're spending less on TV. They're spending less on radio. They're spending less on what we grew up on, which is traditional media, right? In fact, some people don't even watch the news anymore because they get it all on Instagram or on TikTok or on Facebook or on all the different, platforms that are out there. The biggest problem that I see today is that there are a lot of businesses that depend on influencers. Yes. Influencers have taken over the world when it comes to, there are influencers that are making millions of dollars a month. There are influencers that are making hundreds of thousands a month. Everyone today wants to be an influencer. Now, how does an influencer make money? Is by having followers, right? Yes. If you have 100,000 followers, if you have 200,000 followers, 1 million followers, the more followers you have, the more you have to pay, right? In order to get on that influencer's platform. But Alex, you are an expert. I'm here with Alex Betton Court. Alex Betton Court is a specialist in marketing. He basically makes a living knowing and understanding what influencers do, how they do it, why they do it, whether they're real, whether they're not real, okay? And whether you're throwing your money away.
100%.
So, Alex, welcome to Mateo Show.
Nice.
No excuses, my brother.
Nah, thank you for having me. Thank you, Fernando. It's been a great pleasure to be here. Yes, so influencers and digital marketing is the biggest topic in the small business world and even, Fortune 500 companies plus, right? What happens is that there's a lot of influencers out there in the market that position themselves with fake followers and they attack and try to promote themselves. Hey, I can give you some marketing. I can do something for your business. And the reality is that, followers does not mean dollars. For small businesses.
What do you mean by that? I mean, if you have 1 million followers, you have followers. What do you mean by that? Well, I mean, are they fake followers? Are they real followers? Are they followers at all?
A lot of these influencers, well, I wouldn't say a lot of these influencers, but a small percentage of these influencers that position themselves to do digital marketing have fake followers.
How do you get fake followers? I don't understand it. Explain it to
There's applications out there.
Okay, explain it in blue collar language to all of the people, the millions of people that are listening right now to No Excuses with Fernando Mateo on WABC Radio. They need to understand before they spend their money on an influencer, whether they're throwing it away or whether they're investing it.
Yeah, so there's applications out there. Let's say if I want to grow 20,000, 30,000 followers today, I can sign up.
A day?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You pay for the subscription and they will just give you a bunch of fake followers.
Yeah, but isn't that illegal? What do you mean you're paying for subscriptions? I mean, are these people, this is like, cheating.
Yeah, it's cheating. Well, there is, you can get penalized for it because if I have an account and these accounts, let's say I have a Instagram page, which is owned by Meta. Meta has their filters that can see if you got fake followers, they can take your page down.
So in other words, I'm a restaurant owner to give you an example,
exactly.
And I want to promote my business through social media.
Yeah.
And I hire one of these influencers that's always out there promoting food that says he has 3 million followers, right?
Yeah.
if that person doesn't have the 3 million followers, how do I find out whether they're legit or not? Because I'm a common. All I know how to do is run my business.
Yeah. So the way you see it is by engagement. You look at their content. One thing as a business owner, you have to make sure that the content of this influencer aligns with your brand values and what your business is all about.
Yeah,
right?
But what does that have to do, Alex, with fake followers? Why does Meta allow it, number one?
Okay.
Why do these influencers do it? Because I guess they do it because they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, well, Meta it's not that they allow it. It's just that there's so many, it's hard to filter all of them out, But the reason why these influencers do it, because they see an opportunity to make some money.
Of course. I mean, it's like robbing somebody.
Exactly. So we can get some quick cash here, right? Yeah. But a lot of these accounts, they're short-lived. Don't think that they're doing this for a long time. They'll have this account, and it will probably be for a couple of months until they get caught, and then the account gets shut down.
Yeah, but by then I've already spent my money on this influencer.
100%.
Okay. Well, how do I get my money back? Well, can I go to the district attorney? Can I file a report, a fraudulent report? I mean, what recourses do I have as a business owner or as someone that wants to market his business? I want you to really tear into this and let people know what they need to do, what they need to look into before they do. Yeah.
So the first thing you should do is look at their account. How's the engagement going? Right? If you have a restaurant and you're looking for an influencer to give you that exposure, you want to make sure that person's one is promoting other restaurants. Their content is engaging and people are commenting, people are liking their post, Also see, are they responding back to the people that's commenting on their Instagram?
So in other words, you have to go into their Instagram,
look at their content,
and look and see what kind of responses they're getting for the different posts that they post.
Very, very important that you do your research before you invest $1.
Now, let me ask you, is it possible that the same way they get the fake followers, can't they get fake people commenting as well? I mean, they can marry both things, the fake followers and the fake comments.
Yeah, but a small influencer, they don't have the resources to do all that.
But it's the big influencers. It's not the small ones. The big ones are the ones that are suspect here.
Yeah, but for let's say for a small business owner, you probably not in the financial position to go after a big influencer that has millions and millions of followers because they're going to charge you so much that is not within your budget. Right? For a company that's in the position to go after the big influencers, yes. But those are, once those big influencers, you reach those influencers, you're not going to have direct contact to them. They're working with an agency. So those agencies have a lot of things that will filter out fake.
So this is a whole new brand new industry.
Yes.
It's an industry that is killing the TV stations. Okay. It's killing the radio stations to some degree because people believe that they can reach more people through social media, right?
Yes.
So, this is a whole new world, a whole new environment. How do you keep even the big influencers honest? Because I'm sure if somebody says they have, 20 million followers, they may only have 1 million followers. Well, they may have 2 million followers. I mean, how do you gauge this?
Well, the way you engage it, once again, it's really by the content that they're producing and look at their engagement that they're getting. Are they getting likes? Are they getting comments? At the end of the day, what it really comes down to is the ROI, right? As a business owner, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for, if I'm putting up $1, what am I getting back? But when you're not measuring this correctly and you don't have a proper strategy, that's where you fail your business short. Because at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, how am I going to capitalize off of this?
The way I see it, Alex, is there's no real way to keep people honest in this business.
No.
It's almost impossible. Those that have 1 million followers may only have 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a lot of engagement, but from 100,000 people.
Exactly.
You don't know that you're getting it from 1 million people. Is this an industry that the Department of Justice should be looking into? I mean, this is really highway robbery if you're saying you've got this and you don't have that.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of, how can you say it? I don't think there's a lot of scamming going on for maybe the legal side to get involved, right? Because there is a lot of honest people out there. There's a lot of honest, influencers. Because at the end of the day, I can have 1 million followers, but if I make a post, doesn't mean that 1 million people are going to see it. Because it all goes by algorithm. And I, as an influencer, as my account, I don't control how many people get to see my content. It's controlled by the owner of the platform. The TikToks, the Meta, Instagram, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. So I can have 1 million followers, doesn't mean that 1 million people are going to see it. Now, you do have a greater opportunity utilizing an influencer to get maximum exposure because they are producing content every single day versus a small business owner that's maybe making one post every week or a post every other day that is just not feeding the algorithm enough to get that exposure.
In other words, this is about following through you have to make this a business.
It has to be a
real business.
Yes.
In order for it to succeed.
If you have a business, you have to dedicate a department towards social media.
Okay. So what I'm asking you right now for all the small business owners that are out there listening
exactly.
To no excuses. To me, there's no excuses why you should be robbed. Okay, if you get robbed, is because you're not paying attention, right? Because you're not looking at where you're spending the money.
Yeah.
At least with radio stations and with TV stations, they have Nielsen ratings, right? They have ratings that tell you how many people are listening at any given moment.
Yes.
With social media, you really don't have that control yet, right?
Well, there is. So there's platforms out there that you can measure, a person's page. You can measure the influencer's social media.
How do you do that?
So
how do you measure an influencer's social media?
There's some platforms that are free, but then some of them are paid. But you have pages like Social Blade. You have pages like Sprout Social, Later.
Okay, so if I'm spending money with an influencer,
yes,
and I want to know whether or not that influencer is engaging or his people are engaging, and they're going to come to my business, right?
Yes.
To buy or consume whatever I'm selling or doing, right?
Yeah.
You're saying that I could also download those different apps?
Yeah, they're websites that you can go on there and you can create an account.
Yeah.
And you just some of them are free, some of them you pay a monthly membership, but you could just actually put in the influencer's information, like their social media account, and it measures it for you. It tells you how many followers they are, what grade are they? Are they a B grade influencer? Are they A grade influencer, C, etc.?
So in other words, I want you to repeat the name of these applications because it's important for people to know that if they're spending money to promote their business, that they're getting the value for their money. No one should come and say, I have 1 million followers, and you've actually bought all those followers through the Meta. What is it that Meta does that allows this to happen, Alex?
Well, it's not. Well, they have their laws and rules and regulations.
Yeah, but Pete, that's the fine line.
But there's in every part of the world, there's cracks, and everything falls through the cracks.
People figure it out.
They figure it out.
Find the loopholes.
Exactly,
right?
They find the loopholes. So they create these accounts. They sign up and get fake followers, and then they'll go and start. I'm saying they are creating content, but their content is not as engaging as a real influencer.
Right, a real influencer spends money.
Influencer, they're dedicated to their craft.
Right.
They're dedicated to their business. What I mean by that is creating daily content that adds value. It's either one thing you can find on social media is entertainment or education. That's what you go on there for, or products. But people don't like to be sold to. So you really don't want to use social media for that, right?
Well, listen, I've watched Instagram and TikTok, and I've ordered product that's being sold on online.
Yeah,
right?
TikTok is the biggest platform for the future now and for the future.
Shopping.
For shopping. You can find little things like a flashlight, which and it's very affordable. So, these platforms are out there for you to shop. Now, if you're looking as a small business owner looking for exposure, and let's say it's a service business versus a business that's providing a product, you go to these influencers, trusting them, saying, hey, I need maximum exposure. They are good influencers out there. But then there is a small community of the bad ones,
Right, and there are also indications that people could look at. How fast did they grow? Right?
How fast do they grow? How many comments are they getting? Look at their first post. Even if you have to scroll. Look at their first post versus their recent posts. If you don't see any growth in that, 9 out of 10 times this person is fugazi. So you really want to stay away from these type of people. But to filter out, either work with an agency, a social media agency, or do some research.
A marketing agency. Right. Like your agency.
Exactly.
What's the name of your agency,
So
by the way?
I have a company called Ready to Elevate.
Ready to Elevate.
Yes.
So if you want to check out anybody, you could call Ready to Elevate,
Yeah,
right?
go to readytoelevate.com. And what we specialize in is helping small business owners position themselves not only with the digital marketing, because that's the problem with a lot of businesses. I want exposure. But do you have the proper branding? Do you have the proper website that's going to convert? Once that marketing goes out, you're going to get the attention. But is the person going to convert to do business with you?
Is he ready for it?
Exactly.
Right. Is he ready for it?
We position small business owners to be able to elevate, because you have to have a strong foundation. It's like building a house.
In other words, prepare. Do the foundation.
Exactly.
First.
So a lot of digital marketing companies, they don't focus on building the foundation. They focus on getting the exposure for you. But
because it's up to you to have your foundation.
Exactly.
So people are throwing their money away because they're not ready for the business that could come in.
Exactly. So what we focus on our business is that we do both. We build the foundation for you. Make sure your brand is on point. Make sure that you're in a position to get the customers to convert. Because if you don't have a strong foundation, your branding is not on point, your website is not on point, your messaging is not on point, once you get that exposure out there, you're done.
Right. You know what I say is this. It's important for everyone to be prepared and understand what social media can and can't do.
Yes.
You need to prepare your platform. You need to prepare your website. You need to be fully prepared and to engage, right?
100%.
And I've got to give credit to a lot of the social media influencers.
Yes.
Because they spend money on a cameraman.
Yeah.
They spend money on the sound guy, right?
Yes.
And they have 2-3 guys out on the street with them producing content.
Exactly.
Right? And those are the legitimate guys, right?
Yeah.
Those are the guys that do this for a living.
I work with plenty of them.
Guys, we're losing jobs in a lot of areas because AI is taking over.
Yeah.
But there's new markets opening up. There are more journalists today than I've ever seen because I see them on social media.
Exactly.
There are more people selling items today than I've ever seen before.
Yes.
It's not just Amazon anymore. Amazon put a lot of retailers out of business.
Yes.
But now influencers are putting a hurt on Amazon. Although Amazon's doing good, I own their stock, right? And most of the stuff that you find on Instagram or on TikTok, you could also find on Amazon.
100%.
Right?
Well, because the thing is that the product is owned by a business, and they're utilizing all these platforms to sell their products.
Wow, it's freaking genius, Alex.
Yeah.
I want to engage with you more.
Yeah.
It's something that I want to learn more. We just started, I've never had social media before. I didn't have Instagram.
Yeah.
I never had Facebook. I've never had LinkedIn. I've never had any of that.
Exactly.
Now, I am going to start engaging in that. Because you know what? We need to expose the good and expose the bad.
Exactly.
And the bottom line with my show here on WABC is there's no excuses why you should fail. If you fail is because you had an excuse, right?
Yep.
So businesses out there, people that are out there wanting to spend money and wanting to see themselves. Listen, so all the time I scroll through Instagram to see if I'm going to see myself.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because it's what you want. People want to see themselves. People want to see their business out there.
It's exposure.
Right? So it's exposure. So
Yeah.
I'm going to work with you because I really trust in your ability to make sure that I spend my money right, that 100%. I spend it properly.
Exactly.
So stay tuned to me because I will be in touch with you.
Let's make it happen.
And we're going to do some things together, man. Listen,
Definitely.
Alex Betton Court.
Exactly.
What's the name of your company again?
Ready to Elevate.
Ready to Elevate. Listen, thank you so much for being here on No Excuses with Fernando Mateo. I really appreciate it. And, let's keep it going, my man.
Make it happen.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Well. Here we are again. We had a great interview here with my good friend Alex Betton Court on social media, for those of you that are just joining. And right now we have an entrepreneur, a good friend, someone that I've known for quite a long time. But most importantly, he's here because we're going to discuss something that's very important to his staff. Peter owns 18 restaurants in Queens and Long Island. He is here today with two of his servers, Melissa and Delaney. And we also have a special guest here who's an accountant, a tax specialist, and someone that identifies his specialty with bodegas and restaurants throughout New York, representing thousands of these restaurant owners and bodega owners. And we're going to discuss today, for all of you out there that own restaurants, that there's been a new law passed. The new law was introduced by President Donald Trump. It's something that I believe he was sitting in a restaurant one day, and one of the servers came and said to him, why do we have to pay taxes on our tips? And I believe that he says, you know what, that's something I'm going to look into. Well, as always, when Trump says he's going to do something, he does it. And he passed a bill that says no more taxes on tips, which means a huge deal to someone that is a server in a restaurant and earning what the server minimum wage is. And we're here today to discuss with Peter, first of all, if he knew about it, number one. Number two, if his servers knew about it. And number three, how is it being handled? And then we're going to go over to Eddie to make sure that we do this legally. And for all of you that are restaurant owners out there, or employ any employee that's tipped, this applies to them as well. Whether it's a car wash, whether it's whatever it is, if you get tips, you should be able to use the same system that we're going to use today. Well, Peter, talk to me, my man. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you brought Eddie here as well. We definitely know about it. We see it all over the news. It's a great step forward for our staff. They get to retain, a bit more of their tips. And it also helps us with employee retention. It gives us a little bit more of a competitive edge. I'm sure the staff appreciates it. They get to earn, a couple extra $1,000 that they could go back and put it back in the economy and, maybe go out to more restaurants and maybe retail, or maybe they pay for their schools or, their clothing. So I think it was a great step forward, and, we're looking for more great things.
Well, we know people have to eat, right? They can't eat social media.
Yeah.
They can't bite on their phone or on Insta. They have to go eat, right? What people have to eat, and people have to use a bathroom. I mean, and pay taxes, right?
Yes, of course.
Those are the three things that you've got to do in life. But Peter, how grateful are you to this administration, to our president? The fact that he is the first guy to ever think of such a thing and actually do such a thing. Mm-hmm. How does it help your business, I know you said, retention, employee retention, that's important. But still, minimum wage is going up. I mean, I was in the restaurant business at one point. I did it as a hobby. I did it for fun, to see people having fun. But when we started back at La Marina, it was $8 an hour.
Right.
And then, the waiters would make a lot of tips, but they would be taxed on those tips, right? So, I mean, you were taxed up and down the line, right? But how do you, at this point, feel about the decision? Is it an advantage altogether? Or are there some disadvantages?
No, I definitely think it's an advantage, of course, because it'll also help, not raise minimum wage if employees are able to keep more of their tipped income. So I think it's an advantage, of course.
Yeah, well, they're going to keep raising minimum wage, and you're going to have to keep
raising have that pressure, though.
You're going to have to keep raising the prices on the fillets and on the fish and on everything else, right?
That's going to help with tips, right?
Yeah, exactly. The higher the bill, the bigger the tips. At your restaurants, do you include gratuity, or is it optional?
Some of the restaurants will include. Some of the restaurants are optional.
Okay, which ones are optional and which ones included?
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to.
I mean, the poorer neighborhoods, the richer neighborhoods. I mean,
we're in pretty good neighborhoods in general. New York is a good neighborhood overall, right?
Up in the Bronx, we used to include it because people that don't have as much resources as others would, consume $500 and leave a $20 tip, right? So, the servers were not happy about that. So we started including the tip in the price, but we also made sure that our service was number one.
Of course,
you can't expect a big tip if your service is not good, right?
Yes.
So I wanna speak to Melissa. Melissa, speak to me now.
Hello.
Talk to me. Hi, how are you? You're a server,
yes.
Right? Talk to me about what you do, how you do it, and what your expectations are. And most importantly right now, how do you feel about not having to pay taxes on your tips? Because taxes on your tips is like 50% of your tips, almost. All right? 30, 40% of your tips, right?
Yeah. I'm happy, of course, obviously. It's a great law that's going to be passed on.
The law has passed.
Right, sorry.
So make sure Peter doesn't take taxes out of your tips.
Right. Okay. I got to keep an eye on that. No.
You know how these Greeks are, right?
Yeah. No, we love them.
I love the Greeks too. I love them too.
It's been good. I mean, I've been working at Peter's restaurant, Mojo Forest Hills, for about 5 years. So I've been there for a very long time. And we're one of the restaurants that includes the gratuity, but we didn't always include the gratuity. So it's been great, but with that auto gratuity, we always ensure to give the best service. And I think with this new law, it's going to become where hospitality jobs are going to be a little bit more desirable. So people are going to want to work. And if you have people that want to work, that's hospitality, and that service is going to be amazing. And I love working at Mojo. I've had the best 5 years. So it's something that it's awesome for me. It's awesome for my future. Anybody coming into hospitality, it's becoming more desirable, and I think that's awesome.
You know what? You're young. You could have done anything you wanted to do, and you chose to work as a server in a restaurant, and you're making a good living.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You're doing well.
There's no complaint.
Peter treats you well.
Amazing.
That's my man right there. That's my man. So, I guess that there are things that we're going to discuss about tips, right? But before we go to that, I want to speak to our other server here, Delaney.
Hello.
Delaney, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. You're young as well. You're vibrant. Speak to me about your career. Why have you decided to stay in the service business?
So I really enjoy my job. I've also worked at Peter's restaurant for 5 years, same thing as Melissa. I really enjoy when people go out that they have the best experience, and it's nice to be able to take pride in having a hand in that.
That's great. I mean, you must deal with people that have all kinds of attitudes, right? You have people that come in, they're hungry, they want to eat, and they want to leave. Then you have the ones that want to come in, spend the day there, spend $3, and leave you $2 tip, right? Then you deal with the people that you just can't please. You know, you serve them something that tastes good, that looks good, and they'll always find something to complain about. How do you deal with people like that?
Thankfully, I don't think I run into this too much daily since we have good products, we have good service. There isn't too much to complain about, but mostly just ensuring that the customer leaves happy, whatever that may be. Giving them, if they don't like their plate, I'm more than happy to switch it out. I can get them a new drink. Whatever their problem is, trying to solve it.
Great. So if I go there and I order a rum and coke and I don't really like it after I've drank more than half of it, I can say, I didn't really like this. It didn't taste too good, and you'll replace it, right, Peter?
Well, it could happen.
You bite the bullet, right?
Sometimes I bite the bullet.
Well, listen, we've got to go to a commercial break. We've got great sponsors, man, and
Awesome.
we've got to take care of our sponsors.
Of course.